Today we're going to be making a beautiful, stunning, elegant dish that is perfect for fall or winter, and it's an installment in our ravioli series. We're going to be making a short rib ravioli with a brown butter truffle sauce. In the past, we've used this provolone cheese shell trick to make our raviolis. We made a beautiful pumpkin sage ravioli with a brown butter sauce. We made a leek ravioli with a mushroom sauce, and so we're super excited to make this short rib ravioli today. We're going to be cooking our short ribs in our Instant Pot today, and Sarah and I have owned this Instant Pot for a couple of years now and used it a couple of times, honestly. So it's going to be a learning experience for us. I have made all of the components of this dish separately, and so I know how to make this in the slow cooker. So for the short rib part of the filling, you're going to be needing short ribs. You could use bone in or bone taken out. Just note that if you use the ones with the bones taken out, you're going to have to be cooking that a little less than when the bones are in the short ribs. We're using about 2 pounds of short ribs for this recipe. Tomato paste, you're going to be needing beef stock, an onion, garlic powder, and salt and pepper. So we have salted and peppered our short ribs generously, flipping them over midway. You gotta get a lot of seasoning on there. We have turned on our Instant Pot to the saute setting and let it heat up. Truth be told, I used to call it Instapot.
Same.
People get really triggered by that. I didn't know that until I said that the first time. We're going to start sauteing them to brown them on each side for about 3 minutes or so, because you want to get like that nice crust on it. You're going to flip it midway through and just make sure that all the sides are brown. And then you're going to take them out and put them to the side. They're not going to be fully cooked yet. So you could either use an Instant Pot if you have one, or you can use a slow cooker for this recipe, or you could even, use your oven for this recipe and just kind of cover it and cook it in the oven on low heat for about 5 hours or so. In our Instant Pot, we are using avocado oil because it can get nice and hot to brown our short ribs. And while those are sauteing, we're going to take a minute to talk about the sponsor of this video, Element. Element is a delicious electrolyte drink mix with everything that you need and nothing that you don't. That means lots of salt and no sugar. Element contains a science-backed electrolyte ratio of 1,000 milligrams of sodium, 200 milligrams of potassium, and 60 milligrams of magnesium. Sierra and I drink Element every single day because we love the way it tastes and it helps us on our keto weight loss journey. That's because when you go into ketosis, you shed a lot of water, and inside that water are your electrolytes. This can leave you feeling nauseous, have fatigue, and muscle cramps, also known as the keto flu. Element replenishes your electrolytes so that you feel better. Sarah and I really love all the flavors of Element, but our absolute favorites are citrus salt, orange salt, and raspberry salt. Right now, Element is offering our community a free sample packet. It looks like this so that you can try all the flavors. That's 8 single-serving packets of Element for free with any order. This way you can try all the flavors or share some with a salty friend. In order to get this deal, you must go to drinklmnt.com/ketotwins. Thanks so much to Element for sponsoring another video on our channel. Sponsors really do help keep your channel going, and thanks to you guys for supporting our sponsors. Next up, we're going to throw in an onion. I have one white onion that I've cut into half moon shaped because we're going to want these onions to almost be tiny enough to really incorporate in the meat, because once we shred our short ribs, we're going to be putting them in our ravioli. So let's throw in our onions now. So this recipe is super forgiving, and honestly, I just learned to make it over the years. I added in a couple tablespoons of tomato paste, stirred that around, kind of got it cooking a little bit, and then I added in a couple tablespoons of apple cider vinegar. You could use red wine vinegar. Some people use balsamic vinegar, but you just want like some vinegar in there. Then we added in about a cup of red wine, and I scraped the bottom to get all the bits out of there. Sarah called it the fond. The frond?
Fond.
The fond. And it smells amazing in here already. I kind of dressed as if the holiday seasons are approaching, can you tell? Oh, and then I added in a cup of beef stock. We use better than bouillon, and we kind of mix it in some hot water, and that's how we create our beef stock. I'm not much of a red wine person, are you?
No, not really.
So now that I'm hearing it bubbling, I know it's up to temperature. We're gonna turn off our Instant Pot, and we're going to be nestling our short ribs back into the sauce. Don't film me. I'm learning. Before pressure cooking, ensure that the steam release handle is in the sealing position. We did that. Never put your hand or your face near the steam release valve, which I'm doing right now, when releasing steam. After cooking, the inner pot may be stuck to the lid. This sounds all very dangerous. I don't know. Minutes are 65 minutes. Wonderful. If you're cooking this in a slow cooker, you can kind of throw it in there and then just turn it on high. I usually cook mine like for 4 or 5 hours on high. If you're using this, it's going to take 65 minutes. So these are just the options. If you want to put it in the oven, like I said, I would cook it at like 350 degrees, covered for like 4 hours or so. And then you should get a nice tender short rib that is falling off the bone with a bunch of nice sauce in it. And we're not going to be using all of that sauce because we don't want our raviolis to be too wet on the inside, but we will be reserving some of that sauce with the onions and kind of mixing it in with our meat to form like a nice juicy filling for our ravioli. So we will check back in about 60 minutes or so. Sarah and I have some editing to do and some coffee to drink. We wanted to use truffles in this dish. We just wanted a light truffle flavor. We ended up using some truffle oil that we've never used before. It smells amazing. I love the way it smells. To toast your walnuts, you could use any type of oil you want. We used the truffle oil, but you could use regular olive oil if you don't have that. And we just cooked our cup of walnuts in a couple tablespoons of truffle oil until you could smell the aromatics coming off of the pan, and then we put them into a bowl off to the side. One of the important things about this dish, this hack that we use to create all of our raviolis, is that remember that we're using cheese. So the filling that you're going to be using needs to be like room temperature or slightly warm, but it can't be hot. The ravioli itself is not going to be hot, but the sauce is going to be warm when you put it on top. So I know that some of you have pointed out that because of the shape of our raviolis that they're not technically raviolis. So that's true, but that's the closest thing that we can use to describe this dish is ravioli. Semantics, honestly. It's a shell with some filling on it, and it gives you the feeling of like that soft dough that you're looking for in a ravioli. If you want to eat this the next day, keep all the components separate so that you can heat them up slightly and prepare your raviolis again. That's basically how we would do it if we're going to make it over the course of a couple days. This is a dish that I think is going to be extra special, and it's going to be for that night that's like cold and dreary out and snowing slightly. I have all the imagery in my head. Timer that's gone off here. This is the part that's kind of scary to me. We're going to have to open the valve to release the pressure. Even the dog is nervous. He's running away. Hi. He knows that this is when dangerous things happen. He can sense the vibe in the room. How do I do this? Just turn the valve or?
Yeah. No. Flip it this way towards us.
I'm gonna take these out and put them in a bowl to cool. So I've taken out our short ribs and I put them in a bowl to cool completely, and we're gonna eventually shred that meat when it's cooled down, because remember, your ravioli, it's very delicate. You don't wanna put something piping hot because it's made out of cheese. This is the sauce that's left over. It smells absolutely wonderful. We have turned back on our Instant Pot to simmer down the sauce and cook it down. And we're just gonna let this cook and reduce, and we're gonna be using a little bit of this inside our meat mixture to kind of sauce it up. So our sauce is going to be a brown butter sauce. To brown your butter, you're basically going to turn on your pan to medium heat, and I'm putting about a half a stick of butter in there. We're going to start cooking this butter. You're gonna cook it until you see these brown bits forming, and then you're gonna turn off the heat. The bits that you're going to see starting to brown are the milk solid. So you're gonna look for it to look like nutty and brown, and then we're gonna take it off the heat and we're going to continue on with the sauce. We are going to add in about 1/4 cup of water. We're gonna add some salt and a little bit of pepper. We're gonna add about 1.5 cups of pre-washed spinach leaves, and those are gonna wilt down. We're gonna put this sauce aside and we're gonna start to assemble our ravioli. Earlier we toasted walnuts in truffle oil and I set them off to the side. I have recombined them into our sauce, and it's sitting off to the side. We're gonna get to filling our raviolis now. We always like to use this brand of Sargento provolone for our ravioli. A lot of people ask if we could use other types of cheeses. The reason why we like this provolone is because even though it says it has a natural smoked flavor, we don't even taste it in our raviolis. So we always go back to this brand because it's our tried and true option for our keto ravioli. So I preheated our oven to 350 degrees, and I'm going to put down a piece of parchment paper on a pan. I'm gonna lay out our ravioli shells, which are these provolone slices. We're gonna stick them in the oven for about a minute, maybe 1.5 minutes. You want them to be melted, but you don't want them to be bubbling or changing color or anything like that. You just wanna be able to manipulate them. We have our filling, which is the short rib, off to the side. It's cooled down now, and we're gonna get to making our raviolis. So Sarah and I are constantly learning and trying to evolve our recipes. We have used this hack several times, and a couple of the times we were filling them and closing them one by one, and it led to the cheese cooling too fast. So this time I think I'm going to take the advice from some of you. I'm gonna try to fill all of the raviolis first and then stick them back in the oven for maybe like 30 seconds and then take them back out and close them. So we have all of our components ready. We have our raviolis, we have our beautiful brown butter sauce with the spinach and the walnuts and the truffle. We're going to plate up our dishes. We're going to dress it with the sauce. We were going to sprinkle a touch of Parmesan cheese on it, and then we're going to go downstairs and we're going to try this masterpiece.
This looks delicious. I'm super excited to try it. I love short rib.
How can you go wrong? Short rib, truffle, walnuts. Give it to me. It better be good.
The provolone, it doesn't taste like, I think it tastes a lot like pasta, actually.
Yeah.
It's very neutral. There isn't a lot of like smell associated with it. You know, sometimes cheese can smell like really overpowering. I don't get that at all here. You just smell that short rib. You smell the tomato from that tomato paste. Just note that cheese actually makes this dish very filling. Like, it doesn't look like a lot. Each one of these cheese slices has like 70 calories or something. So this is definitely gonna fill me up for the day.
And then there's the walnuts on top, and you have the butter. It's a super rich, decadent meal. I really like it. You know, like I've said, we've made all of these components separately before, but I have never made them together. And I think that it worked out really, really well.
If you didn't want to go through the trouble of making the ravioli, this also would be delicious on top of like a little helping of cauliflower mash. That sounds really good as well. But this is just a little something special to make you feel like you have pasta when you're on keto, I think.
Not overfilled. These are actually the ones that I filled to your liking. So we made about 2 pounds of bone-in short ribs, which is about like 1.5 pounds maybe of the meat. You can make 20 ravioli with that amount.
And if this is the first time that you guys have seen us use this hack, then you can click on the video on the screen. We made a mushroom and leek ravioli. It was divine. Almost as good as this one. You can click on the video on the screen and we'll see you over there. Anyway, I'm Sarah.
And I'm Emily.
And we are the Keto Twins signing out.